Hello, my dear butchas, and welcome back. Your exams are just around the corner, I know, but don't you worry. Today, we are going to tackle a big, important chapter, evolution. Now, this is one of the greatest stories ever told, and together, we are going to break it down so you can crack any question that comes your way. Ready? Let's go. Just stop and think about this for a second. It's just mind-blowing. Life on our planet started with a tiny, single cell. And from that one cell, over billions of years, came lakhs and crores of different species. Fish, dinosaurs, mango trees, and, well, you. This whole epic journey is evolution. So the biggest question of all is, how on earth did it even begin? Right. So before we can even talk about how life changed, we have to figure out how it started. Where did that very first life come from? To answer that, we've got to get in our time machine and go way, way back. Okay, so our universe kicked off with the Big Bang nearly 14 billion years ago. That's a 1-4 with 9 zeros after it. Our Earth is much younger, formed about 4.5 billion years ago. But here's the crazy part. Life showed up just 500 million years later. That's actually pretty quick in cosmic terms. And the very first forms of life probably weren't even proper cells, just giant molecules getting together. You know, for a long, long time, people believed that life could just poof, appear out of nowhere. You know, like flies coming from rotting meat. They called it spontaneous generation. But then a brilliant scientist, Louis Pasteur, came along and proved that this was wrong. He showed that life only comes from pre-existing life. We call this biogenesis. But this created a new puzzle, didn't it? If life only comes from life, then where did that very first life come from? And that leaves us to the theory that scientists accept today, chemical evolution. Two clever scientists, Oparin and Haldane, had an idea. They said, hold on, before life could evolve, the chemicals had to evolve first. They proposed that on the early Earth, simple chemicals came together to form the more complex molecules needed for life, like proteins and RNA. Basically, you gotta make the bricks before you can build the house. But an idea is just an idea without proof, right? So, in 1953, a scientist named Stanley Miller did this amazing experiment. Beta, please pay attention to this diagram. It's a VVIP for your exams. What he did was, he recreated the atmosphere of the early Earth in a flask. He put in the gases, the water, and then he zapped it with electric sparks, just like lightning. And you know what he found in his little flask after a week? Amino acids. And what are amino acids? They are the building blocks of proteins, which are the building blocks of us. This was a huge deal. It proved that the basic ingredients for life could have formed all by themselves on our young planet. Okay, so we've got the building blocks, the amino acids. But how do you go from a soup of chemicals to the incredible variety of life we see today? Elephants, eagles, and us. For that, we turn to the hero of this story, the one and only Charles Darwin. Now, don't get intimidated by his big theories. It all boils down to two simple, super powerful ideas. First is branching descent, which just means all life is connected like a giant family tree with a common ancestor at the bottom. The second, and the most famous one, is natural selection. So what is this natural selection? Think of it this way. In any group of animals, there are small differences, right? Some are a bit faster, some have better eyesight. Now, if a particular variation helps an animal survive and have more babies, that trait will get passed on more and more. That's what Darwin meant by reproductive fitness. It's not about being the strongest, but it's about being the best fit for the environment to have more offspring. Nature selects the winners. Darwin's idea was fantastic, but in science, you need proof, you need evidence. So how do we really know that he was right? Come on, let's put on our detective hats and look for the clues that evolution has left behind for us. Okay, clue number 1, and this is a hot favorite for exams, so listen up. Homologous structures. The word homo means same. These are parts of different animals that have the same basic design because they came from a common ancestor, but they do different jobs. Just remember this mantra, same structure, different function. Look at this picture from your textbook. It explains it perfectly. We have the arm of a human, the leg of a cheetah, the flipper of a whale, and the wing of a bat. On the outside, they do totally different things, right? Grasping, running, swimming, flying. But look at the bones inside. It's the same pattern. One big bone, then two smaller bones, then the little bones of the wrist and fingers. This is amazing proof that they all started from a common ancestor and their limbs diverged for different purposes. This is called divergent evolution. Now, here's a common trap. Don't get confused between homologous and analogous structures. They are the exact opposite. Analogous structures do the same job but have a different design. Think of a butterfly's wing and a bird's wing. They both help in flying, but they are built completely differently. They don't have a recent common ancestor for that wing. This is convergent evolution. Please remember this difference. It's super important. Let me tell you a quick story about natural selection in action. Before factories in England, trees were covered in light-colored lichen. So most moths were light-colored to camouflage. The dark ones, they were easily spotted by birds and, well, gobble. But then the factories started pumping out black soot, turning the trees dark. And suddenly, who was better camouflaged? The dark moths. The light ones were now easy snacks. So the population of dark moths exploded. See? Nature selected the moth that was the best fit for the new environment. Okay, board exam alert, full focus, my dears. Imagine this question comes for 3 marks. What is adaptive radiation? Give an example. Let's frame the perfect answer for this right now.
So, the definition is, adaptive radiation is the process where a single ancestral species evolves into many new species, each adapted to a different way of life. And the best classic example? Darwin's finches. When Darwin went to the Galapagos Islands, he saw that one type of finch had arrived there long ago. And from that single ancestor, many new finch species had radiated out. Some developed thick beaks for cracking seeds, others developed thin beaks for catching insects. They all adapted. Define the term, give the finch example, and you've got your 3 marks. Easy. So we've seen the proof. We know evolution is real, but what are the engines that actually drive it? What are the forces that cause a whole population to change over time? Let's quickly look at them. To understand what causes change, scientists first imagined a population with no change. They called it the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. But in the real world, this balance is always disturbed by 5 main forces. You can think of them as the 5 fingers of evolution. You've got gene flow, which is just migration. Then there's genetic drift. That's just random chance, especially in small populations. Then mutation, the source of all new traits. Then genetic recombination, which is the shuffling of genes. And finally, the big boss, natural selection. When these 5 forces are acting, a population will change. And that change is evolution. And now for the part of the story that's all about us. Our own journey, the evolution of humans. Let's see how our incredible story unfolded. Our story starts around 15 million years ago with ape-like ancestors like Dryopithecus. Remember, it wasn't a straight line. It was more like a bushy tree with lots of branches. A few million years later, we see man-like primates in Africa walking on 2 legs. Then came Australopithecus, who were using stone tools. After them, Homo erectus, with the bigger brain, who started eating meat. And finally, us, Homo sapiens. Modern humans who walked out of Africa and populated the whole world. And this picture tells such a powerful story. You can see the main changes that happened over millions of years. The face got flatter, the jaw got smaller, but the most important change is right here, the brain case. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. That huge brain is our superpower. It's what allows us to have language, create art, do science, everything that makes us human. I want to end with this beautiful line from your textbook. It says that every single living thing you see, a tiny ant, a huge banyan tree, your friend, even you, is a success story. You are a winner of a 4 billion year-long process of survival. How amazing is that? So is the story over? Not at all. Evolution is still happening right now. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the next step for us? What kind of pressures will shape humans of the future? Something to think about. All right, my dears, that is evolution simplified for you. I really hope this helps. Study well, stay curious, and all the very best for your exams. You are going to do great.